First time in Utah, you guys are very nice. It's like almost creepy how nice you guys are. Like I almost went to the DMV just to balance things out and feel safe. Starting to feel like get out in here, you know? So nice. I asked somebody for like random for recommendations and she wrote 10 things on a list. And one of them was Buffalo Wild Wings. And now I can't trust anything else on that list. Like I live 2 blocks away from a Buffalo Wild Wings. I'm not gonna go to a place I avoid on a daily basis, you know what I mean? I'm from Yemen. I feel like I'm the first person from Yemen to make it this far in Utah. I'm like the Columbus of my people. I should journal this. Today I discovered a land full of very pale Indians, 0 spices, but I magically found a place the local called Buffalo Wild Wings. Nothing on that, sir? That was a beautiful riff, very well structured. There was a callback. I haven't even started my set yet. My name is always Sultan. I mumble when I talk, and I have third world energy. And what that means is a lot of times people misinterpret what I say to something crazy. I was at the mall, I went to a clothing store, there was a lady working there. I said, "Hey, are you free?" And she looked scared and she said, "Did you say, are you afraid?" I was like, "I did not. But if I did, why are you still standing here?" No good conversations start with, "Are you afraid?" If a random man walks up to you ladies and says, "Are you afraid?" you run. You run as fast as possible because he's trying to kill you. Happened again. I went to a therapist for the first time just to see how white people heal. Very slow. And at the end of the first session, he said, "Ollie, why are you here?" And I was genuine. I said, "Dude, I just want to be a better person." And then he said, "You want to be a bad person?" And that scared me because he's a therapist. He had to clarify so he can analyze me. But how many people I met randomly never clarified? Right, like I meet you, Sarah, I go, "Hey man, you know, Bruce is my guy." And you heard the Jews need to die? And you walked away? Thinking I'm a monster? I'm Yemeni Ethiopian, so I'm Arab, African, and a man. And I feel like I scare different groups of people based on different elevations. Alright, like if I'm underground in a parking lot, I scare women because I'm a man. If I'm on the street at night, I scare old people because I'm African. And if I'm on a plane, I pretend to be Puerto Rican. I enter every plane the same. I go, "Hola, papi! ¿Cómo estás?" When I was 15, I immigrated to Minnesota, and when I got there, I did not believe I was in America. I was very skeptical. For 2 reasons. The first reason was this. My mom lied to me as a kid. She said, "We're going to America." And then she dropped me off in Ethiopia for 4 years. So I have trust issues. Second reason was this. Everything that I learned about America was from watching movies. And if you watch movies, all you see is the big states. You see California and New York. You don't see Iowa and Nebraska. Like, America doesn't look like the movies. And I didn't know anything about like the states. I didn't know there was 50 states. I was on a plane next to a man, and I asked him where he was going, and he said he was going to Atlanta. And I thought Atlanta was a poor European country. And then he asked me where I was going, and I said, "I'm going to America." And he looked at me like I was the dumbest thing to ever live. And then he slowly explained to me that Atlanta is in America, and I felt so embarrassed until I met other Americans. And then I felt like a patriot. And then I landed in Minneapolis Airport. I don't know if you've been there, but there's a lot of East African people that live there and work there. And I saw a lot of East African people in the airport, and I felt excited. I said, yes, I'm amongst my people. This is gonna be a good time. Then me and my mom took a cab, and the cab driver was also East African. Got excited again. I said, wow, what a great deal of diversity. Then we drove in an area called Cedar Riverside, which nobody told me that was home to the biggest population of Somali refugees. And I looked around and I saw Somali people in traditional garb, and I was like, oh no, she tricked me again. This is not America. This is Mogadishu. A lot of people did not laugh at Mogadishu because they don't know where that is, which proves my point. We suck at geography. I feel like if you're born in America, you should be very grateful. You have a lot of luxuries, like knowing your birthday. Like in Yemen, they don't keep birth records, and they don't celebrate birthdays, so you just gotta take your best guess. And I finally asked my mom when I was 14 or 9, I said, Mom, when was I born? And she said, you were born when we got the cat. I was like, when did you get the cat? She said, that's when your uncle got diabetes. Like, that's how I learned that time was relative. The relative is my diabetic uncle. Some good news. My mother got married recently. Give it up for my mom. Yeah. It's her 4th marriage because she's not a quitter. And my stepdad has been in the country for about 2 years, and already he adapted so quickly. He's like learned so much. Within 2 years, he learned how to speak English. Yeah, he learned how to drive. And he learned how to ice skate for some reason. And he's a cool guy, like he's a super nice guy. He pulled me aside, knowing that I grew up without a father, and he said, Ali, I want you to know that you are my son. And I said, no, thank you. I'm 30. I think. Also, I taught you how to speak English. I taught you how to drive. I used to take you ice skating. You're my son. Go clean your room. Love my mom, man. My mom is the reason I'm here, and she's like the smartest person I ever met. And I don't know if you've been around really smart people, but they're not smart socially. They're not aware of their surroundings because there's so much happening up here. I was hanging out with her, and we decided to get some fast food, and my mom was on the wheels. I was on my phone just being a millennial, arguing on Facebook. And I don't see, but I hear my mom order, and she goes, hello, can I get a number 2? And they don't respond to her. So she says it again louder. She goes, hello, can I please get a number 2? And they don't respond, and she says it again with a sense of defeat. She goes, hello, could you please help me? And they say nothing, and she looks at me, and she goes, Ali, do you think they're racist? Because they won't even talk to me. And I put my phone away, and I looked over, and I swear to you, my mom was talking to a trash can. She pulled up, stopped a little too early, and gave an order to perhaps a raccoon. And I didn't want her to feel dumb, so I was like, Mom, this is the most racist Arby's in town. We should leave immediately. Let's get out of here. I had to take ESL classes to learn English. And one day my instructor got off tangent and she started talking about the Middle East and 9/11, my favorite topic. And she looked at me, the only Arab kid in the class, and she said, they hate us because they're jealous of our freedom. They hate us because they're jealous of our freedom. That's what she said. And she kept staring and staring and staring, and that made me uncomfortable. And when I'm uncomfortable, I laugh. I laugh out, like audibly, like I laugh loud. And I laughed, but I laughed way too hard. It didn't look like it was out of discomfort. It looked like I was plotting against the United States of America. She said, they hate us because they're jealous of our freedom. And I was like, ha ha! And people got quiet. And, you know, we're all smart here. I don't think things are that, like, simple. I think that's naive to say, because I've lived in the Middle East, I lived in Yemen, and we had the most freedom. Because we did not have an operating government. You could do whatever you wanted to in Yemen, and it was scary. Freedom is a little bit overrated. You're gonna need some rules and regulations. One time, true story, I was on a bus and I saw a baby smoking a cigarette. He was like 7 or 8, and he was smoking a cigarette so casually, and no one said anything. I was the only person panicking. I was like, oh my God, why is he driving this bus? We're gonna die. We're gonna die for sure. I feel like I'm racially paranoid sometimes. I'm a little too racially paranoid. One time I was at a gas station, it was me and 2 other cars, and one of the cars drove off with the nozzle, and gas started to spray everywhere. And me and the other car were there still, and it was a white guy, and he looked at me and he was panicking. He said, oh no, if this blows up, we're gonna die. And I looked at him and I said, oh no, if this blows up, I'm gonna get blamed for this. And there's a chance ISIS will claim it and it'll be over for me. And then he took off, and I stuck around because I didn't want to look suspicious. So what I did is I used to work at a gas station. I knew what to do. I turned off the emergency button. It turns off all the pumps. Then I got some salt. I laid it over the gasoline so it doesn't ignite. Then I walked to the flag that was on the premise. And I faced one of the cameras and I just saluted like a true patriot. And I left Alabama and never came back again. I think I'm officially an American because I make fun of Walmart now. I don't even go there. I look down on Walmart. That's a very American thing. You understand? Like, this country's so luxurious, people make fun of Walmart. Growing up in Yemen, our local store was a metallic box the size of a kitchen. Like, the first time I saw Walmart, honestly, was more exciting than the day I met my nephew. I walked in and I saw a McDonald's in there and it blew my mind. I was like, there's a McDonald's in the store? There's not one McDonald's in the whole country of Yemen. Like, that made me believe in the American dream. And I remember being that easily impressed. I remember being that way. And now what I do is if somebody moves here from Yemen for the first time, I mess with them. My cousin came here for the first time, and I took him to White Castle, and I convinced him that White Castle was a 5-star restaurant. I was like, this place was founded by George Washington himself. It used to be called the Castle of Whites. I didn't even let him go in. I said, you need a special membership to get in and wait outside. I went in, I got some food, and I caught my cousin taking selfies at a parking lot of White Castle, like he was living a high life. And he looked at me and said, Ali hada ahla yawm. In Arabic, that means, this is the most beautiful day. And I was like, Ahmed, we haven't even been to Walmart yet. Pace yourself, it's gonna be a big day. Clap, sir. Clap. Everybody's doing it. Clap. Fun story. I was once arrested because the cops thought I was the Mexican guy they were looking for. Which was weird because at the time I was not Mexican. That was a quick phase in college. Here's what happened. I didn't know this, but a couple I never met got into an argument. It was a Latino couple, and the husband was not a nice guy. He hit his wife in the face. And the daughter saw this, and she called the cops on her father, and then he took off on his bicycle like a villain on welfare. And at that exact moment, I was not on a bicycle, I was just walking, just being all Mexican. And the cops saw me, and they're like, yep, close enough. And they took my ID, they arrested me, they put me in the back of the car, and they drove 3 blocks and dropped me off to this very confused looking mother. And she looked at me and she said, who is this guy? And I said, don't talk to your husband that way, Poppy. And then I looked at the cop and I'm like, dude, you should be like the best at investigating. You saw my ID, I have an Arabic name. My name is Ali Sultan, not Alejandro. And then the daughter came on, she's like, that's not my dad. And I was like, I actually am your father now, it's the law. There's gonna be some changes around this house. Rule number 1, snitches get stitches. Another fun story. When I was 19, an FBI agent came to our house. I don't know if it was a coincidence that we were Arab, but he showed up. And he talked to my mom, and he said he wanted to have a meeting with my stepdad, who was not there at the time. And they said, we'll come back tomorrow at 3 p.m. to talk to him. And my mom was very puzzled. She was very surprised. She's like, what could they possibly want? And I had some ideas. There's 3 facts about my stepdad. No lie. At the time, he was an illegal immigrant from Yemen. His last name is Al-Mujahid, which translates to the jihadist. And he went to flight school in the year 2000. Terrific guy, but on paper, scary. Like, I actually high-fived the FBI agent. I was like, good job, you're doing the Lord's work. Thank you for answering my call. This guy hates my stepdad. He's like, yes! And they had the meeting with him, and it was a real meeting, and it took a left turn. It wasn't even about terrorism. They sat my stepdad down and they said, Mr. Mustafa, Yemen is going through a political uprising. And there's a new need for a president. And if you choose to run for president, you have our support. And I was like, man, that is the sneakiest way to deport someone. Hop on the plane, Mr. President. See you never. Recently, I proposed to my girlfriend. I accidentally did it. I want to marry her, but I just was caught in a moment that was so beautiful and made me realize she was the one. And here's this, the moment. I'll share it with you. It's kind of weird. I had a mint in my mouth, and I had the urge to spit that mint onto her mouth. I don't know why. I'm just like a weird guy. Could have been the 4 years in Africa. Not sure. And I'm that comfortable with Kelsey. I said, Kelsey, open your mouth. And she did it right away, which is the level of trust you need in a marriage. And I spat it. And I missed, and it landed on her face, and it got stuck. And she picked it up, and this was the moment that made me realize she's the one. She picked it up, she gave it back to me, and she said, try again, babe. You understand how romantic that is? Like, look past the weird men thing. She accepted me for who I am and encouraged me to go further. I tried 5 more times. And we made it, and we fist bumped. And I was like, babe, we should get married. And she said, nah, you're weird. Which is not fair because she's also weird. That's why we're compatible. This is how weird she is. We decided to go up north. I just wanted to see what happens there on the weekends. And on the way there, she's driving, I spot a deer about 70 yards down. That's a lot of distance for you to break, right? And I go, heads up, there's a deer ahead. And she ignores me. And she steps on the pedal and speeds aggressively towards the deer. And I go, maybe she didn't hear me. I'm gonna say it louder. I said, heads up! There's a deer ahead! And she says, shh, I got this. She goes, you don't slow down. You speed up and you hit the deer as fast as possible so the deer flies over the car and not through the window. I was like, oh, I peed a little bit. Pull over immediately. We need to talk about how you handle animals. I was like, who told you this? Who gave you this horrific advice? And she said, my ex-boyfriend. I'm like, yeah, he was trying to kill you. Also, you know how fast she had to hit that deer with her Prius for it to fly? I'm starting to urge to have a kid with her one day. I don't know, but I don't have like a good reason. So I want to have a kid, but I have a shallow reason. I'm Middle Eastern African, and Kelsey, obviously white. And I just want to see what happens. I want to see what kind of Latino we're going to make. I hope he's Puerto Rican like his father. Here's a good advice. If you hear someone with an accent, it's not racist to ask where you're from. I have a lot of people that think that's racist, and they come up to me and say awkward things. Instead, they go, you smell like spices. Which I do. But why are you saying this? You can ask, it's fine. But if you ask, there's a proper volume. Do not yell it. That scares immigrants away. I was outside, waiting for an Uber, and there was two white people talking, two men, and one of them looked like if Alabama was a person. And he looked at me, and he screamed, "Where you from?" Which is code for, hey, I am racist, and I'm not sure how to hate you yet. Could you help a brother out? And here's the thing, I know that we're bad at geography, and I use that to my advantage. I just make up a place that doesn't exist. I said, I'm from Kokolakanka. And then he goes, oh, I know where that is. And it scared me. I'm like, did I just make up a place that actually existed? And I go, where is it? And he goes, it's in Saudi Arabia. It's not. And then his friend got upset and he punched him on the shoulder. He said, you're an idiot. It's not in Saudi Arabia. It's in Africa. Nothing? This is the real conversation I had with two of your people. You should laugh. And I'm a comedian. I have a lot of time on my hand. I said, go home and Google Kokolakanka. You're going to learn a lot. Here's how you spell it. And I went home and I created a page for Kokolakanka on Wikipedia. Which is, by the way, how you get banned from Wikipedia forever. But it was worth having, because for 2 days, if they Googled Kokolakanka, they would have found a page that I made that said, Kokolakanka is the world's smallest island located in the Bermuda Triangle. And the largest exporter of coconuts. The population is 300, also the inspiration for the movie 300. The language spoken is Hebrew and Spanish. And the slogan is, come for the cocoa, but don't forget to get loco, l'chaim. went to North Hennepin Community College, and it was the waste of 5 years of my life. Do the math. But it saved my life in Yemen. I was visiting Yemen, and I drove there for the first time. I don't know if you've driven overseas, but it's really intense. It's like, you've been? Yeah, you've done? Where? Saudi Arabia? Really? What were you doing in Saudi Arabia? He has a job? At like a mosque or something? What are you doing in Saudi Arabia? I don't even go to Saudi Arabia, and I'm Arab. I'm scared of Saudi Arabia. What kind of job do you have there? Sorry?
State Department.
State Department of Saudi Arabia? Are you here to like take notes on me or something? Because I don't know if you know this, Saudis and Yemenis are not having a good time right now. They're going to war. It's a one-sided war, really. And they're Asian. I knew you were Arab. I can tell. You got thick eyebrows. You have very aggressive eyebrows. So your eyebrows have their own social security. Your eyebrows do their own taxes. I am moving on. But yeah, driving to Saudi Arabia, very intense, right? It's not even as intense because they have rules. Yemen has 0 traffic rules because we are very free. And I decided to bring my cousin to guide me through the process. And Ahmed was with me, and I said, Ahmed, what do I need to know? And he said, honk. And I go, excuse me? He goes, honk. I go, what? He goes, just honk. I go, why? He goes, do you see any stop signs? I'm like, nope. He goes, exactly. There's a lot of alleys in Yemen. There's no stop signs. So when you honk, you let people know that you're coming through. So if you can't honk, turn off the car and take a cab. And I was like, wow, that actually makes a lot of sense. I go, what else do I need to know, Ahmed? And he goes, unbuckle your seatbelt. I go, okay, you need to convince me on that one. And he goes, in Yemen, cops make very little money, and they make their money from briberies. And they always look at tourists. And no one in Yemen wears a seatbelt, so if you wear one, you look like a tourist, which means you have money. I was like, yep, that also makes a lot of sense. But I'm not taking my chances. And I drove for 5 minutes, and I got pulled over immediately. And I expected the American treatment, license and registrations. That's not what happened. A cop with an AK-47 got into the back seat of my car and said, drive. That's all he said. He said, drive. He kept saying, drive, drive. I'm like, do you want me to honk first? And just like some of you, he did not have a sense of humor. And I drove and I looked at Ahmed, and Ahmed did this. He gave me the money symbol, which meant this guy needed cash. I had some cash. I gave him the cash. He left. And then Ahmed said, you could have gotten away with this. I'm like, how? He goes, you're an American. All you had to say is that you're an American, and they don't want to deal with the embassy. It's a lot of paperwork, so they would just let you go. I'm like, yeah, that would have been amazing 8 minutes ago. But it came in handy. 2 weeks later, I get pulled over again. I know what to do now. I lock the back seat. He came through the window. He goes, do we have a problem? I go, yes, I'm an American. He goes, prove it. I go, check out my seatbelt. He did not find that funny. He was very upset. He goes, let me see your passport. I said, I don't have a passport, but I have my American citizenship card ID. Do you guys know what that is? It does not exist. Because I was a green card holder. I was not officially American. But I know that he can't read English, and a green card looks so official and so high-tech, he was gonna let me go. That was my plan. So I look into my wallet, and I realize that I don't have my green card with me. I kept it home for safety. And I had 0 cash. Then I looked again, and I found my North Hennepin Community College ID. And I took it out, and I gave it to him, and it looks like somebody made it in a garage. And he looked at it, and he looked at me, and he said, wow, cool. And he let me go. So thank you, North Hennepin Community College, for saving my life. I've been Ali Sultan. You guys are amazing. That is going to be my time before I leave. My girlfriend made this for me. It's a Coca-Cola Conco. Sell those on my website, AliSultanComedy.com. Utah, you've been very nice. Thank you so much for having me.